In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 things you should never waste money on. Cash, fees, more fees, stuff disguised as a benefit, but it's not, and charges that drain you. These are bugbears of mine, and you shouldn't be wasting money on them. You might as well be throwing money down the drain. Let's get straight into them. And there's a bonus for you too if you stick around till the end. Although I guess you could just skip right to the end if you really wanted to. Anyway, here's number 1. Since I launched this channel, people come to me all the time to talk about money, their money, how they can do better, how to invest, where they can save money, how to make more, etc, etc. One thing that I find astounding is how many people keep a lot of money in cash. And I've seen it a lot. I've seen £10,000, £20,000, £30,000, and even above £50,000 in cash sitting in people's current accounts. And no, this isn't their emergency fund. It's just sitting there in a current account. And let me tell you something, it's out of sheer laziness. And sometimes it's a combination of laziness and fear. Laziness because they know they should do something about it. But it's so much easier just to use avoidance tactics, like jumping on to the next Netflix episode. Heck, it's only an hour long, I'll deal with this later. I mean, how much difference will an hour really make? Well, 1 hour won't make that much difference, but let's be serious here. It's not just an hour, right? That hour turns into a binge of more hours. Or then you're too tired or mentally drained to sort this out. And another day goes by, and then another week. You know the drill. And this laziness is mixed up with fear too, which makes it so much worse. What if I make a wrong move and lose money? This is a classic case of loss aversion playing itself out in your real life. If you have £1,000 and you lose £100 of that, that feels pretty bad, doesn't it? It hurts here. But what you don't see is after a few years, you'll have lost way more than £100 if you keep that money just where it is, in cash, in a standard bank current account. But this loss doesn't feel as real because it's money you could have made, but haven't made yet. So it's in the future, a future loss. But it doesn't feel like a loss. I think you get the point. Our feelings about money often lead to inaction. I'm here to tell you to do it anyway. Feel scary to make a bold decision you haven't made before? Okay, sit with that fear for a bit and then do it anyway. The truth is you're never going to feel comfortable enough to do it, so just do it anyway. For those of you who are parents out there, you'll know that you never thought you were ready for a child. And there is no right time. You're never going to feel ready. You just make a decision and go with it. The same goes with taking charge of your money. Don't let it dwindle in an account doing nothing for you. Get it working. You go to work to earn money or run a business to make money. Then you just leave it in a standard bank account doing nothing. That's crazy. Take action. Get your cash working for you, not just sitting there. High interest savings account as a minimum. But then there's smart investing too. Just watch some of my other videos to learn how. So that was cash. Now number 2, paying excessively when you change money from one currency to another. Whether that's sending money abroad, paying for something in a different currency to your own one, or exchanging money when you travel. This is made more difficult because fees aren't always transparent. Some charge a commission, others say it's commission free, or say the fee is 0 and instead make their money by giving you a poorer exchange rate. And some do both. They charge a fee and give you a poor exchange rate. As a rule of thumb, if you're using your standard bank account or credit card to send money in a different currency to someone, either you're paying someone for something, or you're sending money back home, or you're sending money abroad for another reason. This can be one of the most expensive ways to do this. It's not typically called commission through your bank account either. It's just blandly labeled as a fee or a processing fee. And then your bank makes even more money from you by giving you a poor rate of exchange between the two currencies. Even if you know exactly how your bank is making money on this currency transaction, there are likely to be additional fees from the moment funds leave your bank account to when it gets to the recipient bank. Now this is slowly getting better, but intermediary bank charges, and these are those big international banks that sit between your bank and the recipient bank. These intermediary bank charges can still take cuts along the way. Often people only realize when the money is received on the other side. PayPal, Wise and others can be better and often are better, but be wary of where the fees are being added. And as I said, they're not always called fees. Sometimes you might just get a really poor exchange rate. There are usually 2 costs when you're sending money: an upfront fee and any markup on the exchange rate you're getting. Foreign exchange services, either shops or online, things like Travelex or Western Union, typically in my experience aren't great value either. As I explained in this video, when I'm abroad, I prefer to just withdraw cash using a no-fee debit card. And that too at an ATM in the destination country. Firstly, it's easier. Secondly, it's quicker and there are no fees. And I get the perfect exchange rate at the time of withdrawal. Normally the same rate you see on Google. It's actually called the mid-market exchange rate. And this is important because just seeing a rate doesn't really mean anything. If I had a foreign exchange service, I could just tell you that my pound to dollar conversion rate is 1.29. Now you wouldn't know whether that is expensive or not until you know what the mid-market exchange rate is. Again, the one you see on Google, sometimes called a spot rate. If that spot rate, that mid-market exchange rate, the one you see on Google is 1.25, then actually 1.29 is very expensive. But if you're getting 1.251 or 1.25 exactly, then that's a pretty good rate and you're not being charged any fees within the rate. The main thing with however you choose to do it is be wary and ensure you know what you're being charged and how. Full transparency is what you're after. No hidden load fees, no hidden commission, no markups on the rate, and certainly no hefty charges. No hidden charges, no unwelcome surprises. And this way you get to keep more of your money. Number 3, actively managed fund fees. Actively managed funds. Why everyday people who are not financial analysts or advisors, and not even them to be honest, why people like you and me choose to, they're not forced to, but why they choose to invest in actively managed funds is beyond me. Study after study after study has shown that these consistently underperform their benchmarks over long periods of time. And yet still so many people get duped by them. Let's break down why you should avoid them and what alternatives you should consider, even if you're a high net worth individual. But as I say that, I've got to point out this is not financial advice, merely my opinion, which is based on my experience. Underperformance for actively managed funds is the norm. According to the book Money Master the Game, 96% of actively managed mutual funds fail to beat the market over any sustained period of time. The market here is generally a stock index, or a basket or a list of stocks, e.g. the often mentioned S&P 500, the top 500 listed companies on the US stock index. You can own a portion of that entire index for a very low fee. You shouldn't be paying more than 0.2% to own this, and possibly even lower. That way you grow with the market and don't pay any huge fees. And by the way, anything approaching 1% is high. It might not sound that way, but it is. And anything over 1% is crazy, unless fees are tied to performance. And mutual funds and ETFs don't give you performance-based fees. At least none that I've seen anyway. High fees, 1% and above, eat into your returns, even though it doesn't sound like it. Funds come with all types of fees, but the one that most people have heard of is the expense ratio. Actively managed funds typically charge higher fees than passively managed index funds. These fees can include management fees, transaction costs, and many others. Over time, these fees can significantly reduce your overall returns, regardless of your initial investment amount. And for those of you shouting, I only invest in ETFs. ETFs can be of the index variety, the passively managed variety, and they can be of the actively managed variety. The same with mutual funds. Many people think that ETFs are all passively managed index funds. They are not. Some are actively managed too. So be careful which ones you're buying into. I'll link to a video in the show notes of a video I've done earlier on index funds if you want to learn more. Funds can grow and do great. Fund managers can grow and do great as well. But it's not the fund's performance or the fund manager's performance that really matters. It's how the investors in those funds are doing that matters. Do you pay higher than 1%, maybe 2% or 3% for better performance? Or so that the fund manager can live a lavish lifestyle with the cash that should be coming back to us as investors? And then what if the fund doesn't do well? Guess what? Investors get charged those hefty fees anyway for subpar performance. Index funds, on the other hand, track a specific market index, like the S&P 500, at a super low fraction of the cost of actively managed funds. No burden of high fees and underperformance risks. They can't underperform the market because they are the market, since they are simply trying to match the market. Whatever the market does, they do. So no fancy research, no fancy analysis, no huge team of people trying to find that one gem, which they typically can't do consistently over a long period of time anyway. Just a simple objective: track the market, the index. Here's more studies to back this up. A recent study by S&P Global revealed that a majority of actively managed funds fail to outperform their respective market indexes over various time periods. This consistent underperformance highlights the difficulty of consistently beating the market through active management, even for experienced fund managers. This study showed that 90% of active fund managers underperformed their relevant indices over a 10-year time horizon. And it's not just in the US either. Here's another study. 94% of France equity funds, 96% of Italian equity funds, and a shocking 99% of Spanish equity funds underperformed their respective benchmarks in the first 6 months of 2023. That same report covers the UK as well. And one note from it shows that 95% of actively managed UK small cap equity funds underperformed the S&P UK small cap index. This was the highest ever underperformance rate for this category. And it's not just in the US and Europe either. As much as 73.6% of actively managed funds in the mid and small cap category of the Bombay Stock Exchange in India underperformed the benchmark, which was the BSE mid small cap index of 400 companies. And in the first 6 months of 2024, 77% of funds across all Indian active fund categories underperformed their respective benchmarks. So this shows whether you're in the US, Europe, UK or India, investing in actively managed funds is probably going to give you below par performance. And you're going to pay excessively for the privilege of those subpar returns. Now, a bit of a warning, I'm going to labor this point a little bit more before I go on to number 4. So skip ahead if you want to. And this time I'm going to show you why fees matter. Why even small, seemingly small fees really do eat into your returns. Imagine you invested £100,000 in an actively managed fund that charged you 1.5% as an expense ratio every year. And let's say the market returned on average 8% annually over 20 years. After 20 years, your actively managed fund would have returned you approximately £352,000, while an index fund charging you just 0.1% would have returned you over £457,000. That's a difference of £105,000, all due to fees. It's like trying to out-train a bad diet. You can't exercise away the impact of consistently poor food choices. Just like burpees can't undo a nightly burger and chips habit, high fees can't outmuscle the market over the long term, no matter how good the brochures and the account managers are. By switching to leaner, lower cost options like index funds, whether that's through the ETF or the mutual fund variety, index funds is the key. This way you'll cut out the financial junk food and keep more of your money. Number 4, credit card debt. Minimum payments, fees, and interest. Those that are sub to my channel will have heard me say this before, that consumer debt is a killer. It connivingly traps you, feeds your ego, tells you it's easy to manage and that everything will be rosy, and then does like a ta-da when it comes to paying everything back. Here's all the fees, and of course, the interest. That minimum payment you think is so good actually means you're paying a small amount and getting charged interest on the rest. It's disguised as a favor, but it's not. Minimum payments are just that. Minimum payments. They actually benefit the credit card company. They are not designed to help you. They are designed to keep you in debt longer. I mean, just look at this email I received recently. It's designed to make me feel like, oh wow, thank you for thinking about me, Barclaycard, and my situation. You're so altruistic. But no, what I think this really translates as, we don't think we're making enough money off you, and so we've lowered this minimum payment. This way, you'll probably end up paying that lower minimum amount, and therefore we get to charge you more interest on the rest. And then the rest of the email goes like this. This line here really takes the biscuit. Paying more than the minimum can help you save on interest. It will save you on interest. Period. In fact, they pretty much say this on the next sentence, but it doesn't stand out as much as it's part of a bigger paragraph and it's not in bold. Even that example I just put up, one part of that email shows this table. I mean, really? I don't actually know that on a balance of £100, for example, how much I'd pay. I'll need to figure out a bunch of other stuff before I can find that number out. So most of us just accept it blindly and move on with our lives and keep getting hit with interest on interest and fees on fees. You get the picture. Let me say this plainly. If you don't deal with consumer debt head on, your financial situation will get worse and never better. It's not difficult, but it does mean making a choice. I've done videos before to help you get out of this mess. I'll link to them below in the show notes so that you can click on them later if you think you need some help. Number 5, regular payments. These are those that are on automatic renewals on your main bank account or on your credit or debit card. Sometimes they're called subscriptions. Other names for them are regular payments, direct debits, standing orders. But whatever they're called, they're regularly taking money from you, from your main current account, from another account, or from your credit card or debit card. If you use the thing they are providing and you know how much it's costing you every month, then great. Continue enjoying it and carry on. But if you signed up for that thing once, maybe it was a photo editing app on your phone that you used once, but to use it that once, you had to sign up to a free trial. And now it's taking £19 from your credit card every single month. Or that fitness app that gave you a great deal during COVID, but you're no longer using it because you're now back at the gym and it just renews annually at £200 or whatever. Then that's wasting your hard-earned money. It's literally you giving money for nothing. They trapped you and now you're paying them each and every month or each and every year. Or let's be fairer, they didn't trap you. They gave you a good deal when you needed it, but now you don't need it, but you're still paying. Everyone has some version of this. Maybe it wasn't a photo editing app. Maybe it was a dating app or something else. I mean, can you imagine if it was a dating app? You found your partner, you've married them, but you're still on your credit card paying for that dating app. Oh, that would be awkward, wouldn't it? Whatever it is, it's now part of your leaky financial bucket. I haven't used that term for a few videos, but it's back. These subscriptions or other regular payments affect not just individuals like you and me, but our friends, our family, our parents, and even businesses. If you're a business owner and have a company that has its own bank account, then even that might be losing money, leaking money to things that you no longer use for the business, or forgot to cancel, or didn't know that you signed up for a regular payment in the first place. Make this a wake-up call to those things and get those cancelled. In a lot of cases, it's just about logging into your bank account and cancelling that direct debit. If it's a regular payment from your credit card or debit card, however, you might need to visit the store to get it cancelled instead. But whichever way you have to do it, as it's stuff you're wasting money on. And here's a bonus one if you've stuck around this far. And this one's negative compounding. One of my most popular videos shows the negative side of compounding that very few people talk about. Here's how compounding can keep you poor.